How to win back voters in places like Wakefield. How to run a political campaign in the middle of a pandemic. And how not to look awkward when you're doing yet another speech to an empty room. These are the challenges facing Keir Starmer, who was today launching Labour's local election campaign.
We're working hard to rebuild trust. We know there's a long way to go.
His central message, a bigger pay rise for NHS workers.
When I clapped for our carers, I meant it. The Prime Minister clapped for our carers, then he slammed the door on them.
Wakefield in West Yorkshire went Conservative for the first time ever at the 2019 general election, and May's vote will be the first time since then that they will go back to the polls. Here they'll also be voting for a new West Yorkshire mayor. Privately, they're expecting to win it, but their candidate was managing expectations today.
This is a very difficult set of elections. Of course, it's on the back of those awful elections in 2019. We lost so many great colleagues and councillors. It's going to be difficult because we are not able to have those doorstep conversations that I absolutely love, talking to people. I'm definitely fighting for every single vote.
Here, anti-Jeremy Corbyn sentiment gave the Conservatives a big boost. But will Keir Starmer and his message on NHS pay go down better with voters? Keir Starmer has been talking today about nurses' pay. It's a national issue, but it could still hurt your campaign. Could it be a problem for you?
It isn't in the Mayor's remit, so I cannot give a pay rise to nurses as Mayor. There's many issues that are coming up for people. People are worried about their jobs, people are worried about their businesses, people are worried how they safely return to work. Those are within the Mayor's remit. That is what I'm talking about with people, and that is what I can make a difference on in their lives.
Looming large over these elections is the pandemic. Labour are worried that some of their supporters will stay at home, which is why their early election campaigning has focused on postal vote registration. And there's the government's successful vaccine programme that has seen their poll ratings soar. They're so pleased with it, they've even had 8 civil servants make a half-hour promotional film about it.
Overall, in the general mood music is positive for the Conservatives, but they won't be complacent about these elections. The Conservatives are defending quite a high watermark from 2017 and 2016, so it wouldn't be difficult for them to start losing councillors. I think what you also find in local elections, whatever the context and whatever's going on, is that each party tries to dampen down expectations so that they can say that they've surpassed them when the results are counted.
And are you going to vote?
I don't think so.
OK. Expectation management is normal. These elections are anything but. But how much the pandemic will shape the politics, we'll find out when voters go to the polls on May the 6th.
Well, I've been speaking with Labour's Deputy Leader Angela Rayner. Began by asking her what Labour would do about nurses' pay.
Well, we think that, the choice in May is to give the government a clear message, and that's that we don't want to see pay cuts to those frontline key workers. The NHS deserve better than that. They were promised, and it was legislated for 2.1%, and now they've been told that they'll get 1%, which is a real terms pay cut. That's a slap in the face for those key workers that have been out there looking after us.
So let's be clear, Labour would have to raise taxes to guarantee nurses the pay you believe they should have?
No, Labour believes that if you manage the finances better, instead of giving out billions of pounds of contracts that have been wasted actually and haven't delivered, and actually deliver, like, for example, the vaccine rollout was delivered by our NHS and by our public services, and that's why we believe it's been a great success. We should reward success and not dole out billions of pounds to contracts like Serco and the test, track and trace system that has been a massive failure.
But it's quite clear that Keir Starmer has not made a difference to Labour's appearance, at least, in the opinion polls. 45% Tories, 32% Labour, and that's more or less exactly how they were when he came in.
Look, it's been a difficult 12 months for, us to get out there because obviously we've been in lockdown and the restrictions, and Keir Starmer made it very clear, and I absolutely agree, that the general public wanted us to do everything we could to try and be a constructive opposition, to come together as a country to fight this global pandemic, and that's what we've tried to do. We've criticised the government in a constructive way when we think they've got things wrong, and they have got a significant amount of things wrong, but we've also tried to be constructive, like for example supporting getting our children back into school as quickly as we possibly could, and we've put suggestions forward on how we could have vaccinated our teachers, etc. So I think it's been very difficult circumstances and not normal times.
Prince William has said this morning, we are very much not a racist family, in response to the allegations of racism made by Prince Harry. Which brother do you believe?
Well, I'm not sure that Harry was saying that his family were racist. I think if you listen to the interview, that Harry and Meghan raised some serious concerns around how Meghan was treated, and racism as well as mental health should be treated seriously, and I welcome the statement by the palace in terms of looking into these issues, because quite rightly they should. I'm sure it's incredibly upsetting for the Queen and her family to be in these circumstances, and Harry paid tribute to his grandmother and said how supportive she'd been. That's great, and it's really upsetting to see a family in these circumstances that are in now. But there's wider issues for us as a society, because we know the stigma that's still around for people with mental health, and we also know the problems that we face in this country with racism still. We all have to look at that, and we all have to look at making sure that our country is better and improves on those issues, because nobody should suffer racism in any institution, and nobody should suffer the stigma of mental health. We've got to look out for each other, and we've got to get rid of the scourge of racism in our society.